Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The First Serve on Talking Tennis. It's me, Jack, and I'm joined by Damien. How are we doing, Damien?
Hello. Yeah, I think it's my second episode in a row. So excited to talk about this. I think we are starting with the women's today, right? Because that's where the fun was yesterday.
Definitely. Pretty predictable-ish results on the men's side. A lot of stuff going on the women's side for sure. I think an obvious place to start, maybe, Damien, would be the defending champ being knocked out, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a match that I watched until the end. I don't know if you were able to.
I didn't get to
We
see
did.
it. I didn't get to see it. I'm going normal hours this year. I've been catching up as I go,
Oh my god.
basically. Um, so you tell me what happened. I have an idea of what happened, but you give me an
Yeah,
idea.
we actually did commentary with John on that match, which was pretty fun, but definitely did not expect it to like fall apart for so quickly because it was like 6-3, free love, let's say for Ostapenko, obviously free love for Ostapenko in the second set, and we were thinking, maybe if this goes to a third, this is gonna be like basically a coin flip from now on, and suddenly Swiatek barely won games after that. She loses the world number one ranking, which is a huge point. I guess we're gonna
Yeah,
touch on that later. But when it comes to the actual match, she now has a 0-4 head to head against Ostapenko. You can see why. Like, there's definitely a part of me that just thinks this is pretty tough for her. Ostapenko crashes second serve returns, still a problem for Iga. She also like hits super flat and hard through her forehand. That's hard for Iga too. There were a lot of like forehand errors, forced forehand errors to that side. And I think especially before the match when Iga was entering the court and she had this pre-match interview with Renee Stubbs. I think I usually don't watch that because they never say anything interesting, right? But we were just waiting around for the match anyway, so I actually listened to what she had to say. Like, one of the questions, a very natural one from Renee, was that you have a 0-3 head-to-head against Ostapenko. What are you going to try to do today? And Swiatek says, of course, I can't reveal it yet, but I have a plan. I hope it will work. I don't actually think she had that. Or maybe the plan was just to sort of overwhelm Ostapenko with her own hitting, hit even harder than her. Some players have pulled it off this year. Rybakina has a 3-0 head-to-head against Ostapenko this year. Maybe it's also because she has that huge serve and like doesn't really get that sort of pressure from Ostapenko. But by the actual match, I did not see that game plan in working. I did not see whatever she meant to do. There was no like attempt to throw off Ostapenko of her rhythm. Otherwise, than just blasting the ball even harder than her, which is tough. And eventually, from the second set onwards, she was really just getting completely overwhelmed by the pace coming at her. And maybe also, some people who have been like demanding more fight, demanding more sort of mental resilience from Swiatek, they will also have a hard time, I guess, finding this performance good because she did not really show it. She did not really bring it. There was no attempt to come back. She just got overwhelmed, and that was really it.
yeah. It's interesting, Damien. Let me pose this question to you because obviously there are weaknesses in the Swiatek game. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's probably the serve is the main one, right? It's always going to be attackable. Even the first serve at times is definitely there for the taking. But is there really much that Iga could be expected to do when somebody's taking on the ball like this? Is this a matchup issue, or is this just the Ostapenkos, Sabalenkas, Rybakinas of the world just going hell for leather and hoping that they peak on the day to beat Iga? Because I'll give you my 2 cents first. I would say when this starts happening to Swiatek, she doesn't have a way of countering it, right? And she can spiral a bit. So from what I've heard of this match, it does sound like she started to play out of her comfort zone and couldn't really come up with something to stave off the threat, right? Whereas maybe other players, Coco Gauff, for example, might be a little better in a situation like this, defending from situations where she doesn't feel like she can hit a winner, where maybe Swiatek starts to panic, she goes for too much in the forehand, etc. My point is maybe Iga's a little bit prone to going off the rails when somebody starts hitting the ball as hard as this than other players. And it makes me feel like maybe she doesn't have the best resilience compared to some other players in the tour. Does any of that make sense? And would you agree maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever someone has really like taken the game to her this year, most of the time it's been an issue. Like we've seen her we've seen her coming back or like fighting really deep into the third set, for example, with some players who are generally more defensive than her. I don't know, Bencic, of course, the prime example. But when it's like Rybakina, when it's Sabalenka, it has not been that easy for her. And I was actually watching just 2 days ago. I watched the highlights of Swiatek beating Halep at 2020 Roland Garros. That 6-1-6 to beat down.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I have to say, like, her tennis was a lot more exciting then because
yeah,
there
yeah,
was so
yeah,
much variety involved in it. You know, the drop shots, net play, even like right now, she says she's not comfortable with net play, but I mean, she was rushing the net quite a lot back then.
yeah.
And I mean, the drop shots, I was just just amazed with whatever she was playing there. And I kind of miss those days. And I
She
think,
hasn't
in a
hasn't played a
way,
drop shot since 2020.
yeah, she played one at, I think, at this
She
year's
played
Roland
one.
Garros,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
literally, yeah, and it was already a big talking point, right?
yeah,
Iga,
yeah,
you played the drop shot again. Well, you eliminated that from your repertoire because literally they, the coach Tomasz Wiktorowski told her not to play it. And I
yeah,
think that there's gonna come a point when this has to make a return, this like one way or another, maybe not to the extent that she was using it before. Of course, on clay it would also be more efficient than here, but I just feel like any change of pace would be good. Because if
yeah.
she is getting overwhelmed by that other hard hitter, if the other hard hitter is hitting harder than her, literally, that's where she falls in trouble. And someone in my Twitter comments actually said that Iga short sliced a couple of times in this match, won both points, when she lured Ostapenko forward. And I'm not saying this is a strategy that would have won her the match. I'm saying it would have helped to do anything because, yeah, by
Yeah.
that moment when Ostapenko started overwhelming her, the match was done. You could stick a fork in it; it was done.
Yeah.
And that's been happening to her quite a lot this year. And obviously, this is a painful loss, not defending the title and losing world number one.
It is interesting actually because everything you're saying there, it kind of touches on a theory I've had that Iga's tennis is a lot more safe. It's a lot more safe than it used to be. It's a lot more because she has to come up with something repeatable, to win all these matches in a row all the time, and it means she doesn't reach these crazy peaks as often. Don't get me wrong, when Iga's playing well, oh my god, she does look amazing, and she can hit incredible shots from anywhere in the court. But it just means she sometimes looks a little flat-footed and kind of out of options a lot of the time because she's got this plan A, and if plan A doesn't work, yeah, she can get a little bit overwhelmed. But yeah, Iga on a clay court is always going to be the absolute favorite with plan A. So there's no real fuss there. It's not going to bother her. But maybe she needs to come up with a few other options on other surfaces. And I totally get what you mean. I think just a few other strings to her bow, right? And she would have a lot more chance of coming clutch in big moments because that's really never been her forte. It's been kind of double bagel or a kind of easy win for the opponent where she's kind of fallen away a
Yeah,
bit.
again, like depends who she's playing because she's been clutch in matches against players where she's the dominant force, right?
Yeah.
She's been clutch in matches like this. She's just not been clutch against the big hitters. And no service, I think somewhat what Nulan is saying is somewhat not true anymore because, well, the first serve was actually pretty decent. And not as good as Ostapenko's, by the way. Great serving day from Yelena. I'm kind of surprised to see that. But yeah, the second serve, of course, is just going to get crushed by, well, either player in this matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting because post Wimbledon, I made a point of saying Iga's serve's obviously gotten a bit better. She has been working on it over and over again. And
Yeah,
actually, she came up with some really good first serves, particularly against Bencic. Again, the dominant force in that match, but had to come back from 2 match points down. She had to come up with something clutch. And her serve was super clutch. She came up with 3 points on it. And
yeah.
that's not something I could have said even a year ago. So she's obviously improving it, but it's not the main reason. Her first serve, I would say, her first serve delivery isn't the main reason she's getting beaten. She's getting attacked off
Yeah.
the second ball on the second serve. So, yeah, it's an interesting story because obviously it's the world number one, all these kind of supposed holes in your game, and you're still the best in the world. Well, no longer the best in the world. Maybe that's a good segue. But it's an interesting story from Iga anyway. Would you like to talk about the fact Sabalenka is now the world number one? 73-week reign of Iga Swiatek taken away from her. Sabalenka definitely deserving of it, right, Damien? I mean, that's 3 semi-finals, the last 3 Grand Slams. and the one before that last year, actually.
Yeah, 4 actually. Yeah.
Yeah, technically. But this year, at least, she's been the dominant force. I would say, even if Iga has won the French, I think Sabalenka's deserving of it personally.
Yeah, I mean, in the WTA race, it's actually gotten really close between them. So this is around this time of the year when we were thinking that there is a real possibility that Swiatek will actually stick around at world number one towards the end of the season. There was a moment, as definitely earlier this year, when it did not seem like a certainty at all because, well, she had to win Roland Garros, then Sabalenka didn't have to win Wimbledon, which she was one of the top favorites for. And yeah, around like maybe the last few weeks, you could actually imagine her staying there. Obviously, if the US Open was better for her than Sabalenka, then it would have been a great shot. Still very much a chance to reach world number one again until the end of the year if Sabalenka loses to, I don't know, in the quarters, in the semis here. But yeah, of course, Sabalenka has been probably, well, I don't know, for the first half of the year, she was the best player on the tour. Right now, it's sort of everything is mixed, and like you could have 5 different players probably fighting for that since Wimbledon. And but in the first half of the year, she was absolutely glorious, and maybe she's lost just a bit of that mental clutchness as well that she had in the first half of the season. But yeah, it's a very deserved number one, and well, it was a straight up like showdown, right? If Sabalenka, of course, if they reach the same round, so let's say Sabalenka loses today, she will still be higher than Iga by 11 points. But it was like almost a straight up showdown. Like who goes deeper at the US Open takes the number one. It's Sabalenka who got at least to the same stage, which is the only thing that she needed to do.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about Gauff Wozniacki and Gauff's run in general? I mean, at the moment, I think most people are considering Sabalenka the favourite, but I'm edging towards Gauff, to be honest. I mean, she's one round further for starters. Not every round's a guarantee for any of the players in the draw. And the way she's playing, the way she's gritting, which is very Gauff-esque, is commendable. And I feel like she's the favourite against Ostapenko. Even if Ostapenko has a decent day, Gauff is probably at her best when she isn't forced to play aggressor. When she can kind of be the one that gets the balls back in play, ask a question of the opponent, can they keep coming up with the goods? I would say Gauff's got an amazing chance now, Damien.
I think Ostapenko has a shot too. There are some similarities in this matchup than as to the Swiatek one. Like she can also crush the Gauff second serve, which is not really a force at all. Like of course her first is one of the best in the game, and also again hit flat hard to the forehand. It's not really what usually gets Gauff in trouble most of the time on this side, but still, like at the Australian Open, she just blew away Coco, and it is possible again. I don't know if she's gonna win that, but yeah, definitely what the win streak, or like not the win streak, but like the great US Open warm-up swing gave Gauff is a lot of confidence. She managed to take it from that, which was not a guarantee. I mean, she could have just, I don't know, also folded under pressure at the US Open, but like whatever's been thrown at her so far, she has been able to handle it. And even if she's not playing her best maybe all of the time, but I would say definitely that's been like the main story for Gauff so far. Not really that she's playing some amazing stuff, but that she's able to absolutely like grind out wins whenever possible, and yeah, just solve the issues that have been posed to her. In our like little notes that we had, there's also this one from John, Brad Gilbert funny, which I guess he means that because it was really funny yesterday, when he was just talking all the time. Coco says, please stop talking, and actually ignores his advice completely, because he was advising her to like constantly to make it physical, to go longer rallies with Wozniacki, which sounds like some very weird advice. Yeah. And Coco was, well, also, this is, I guess, a plus for her that she was able to just set herself apart from this and just go with her own idea, which was significantly better.
One thing I'd say, by the way, just to touch on, you're saying about the second serve weakness with Brad Gilbert, obviously on court, okay, yeah, he can be a little bit of a budgie, but off the court, I mean, the advice he's given her is obviously feeding into her confidence. And one thing he had said about her second serve is you should go for it. Stop just rolling it in. So I do feel like she's maybe a bit better equipped than she has been since the Australian Open, even, and at the Australian Open, to maybe just be a little bit more attacking with the second serve, even if she double faults a bit. It's almost went full circle, right? Because the double faults kind of went away, and now she's going back to just taking a bit more risk on it. And maybe there's the odd double fault, but at least it stops her from getting attacked on the first ball quite as much. And that was definitely prevalent in the swing up to the US Open. So I do feel like she's a bit better equipped for that style of play, Damien.
No disagreement there. It's Ostapenko. I mean,
It's
at this point,
I know.
at this point, it's very possible that she just wins the title in all, winning only deciding sets.
Of course,
That's what she's on track for. And would she really be surprised? No. And it would be a beautiful story for Ostapenko on another slam 6 years after that Roland Garros, which you can't really say it was random. However, she was never really close to repeating that, and finished like a couple of years, I think, even outside the top 40 since. So,
yeah, I would say, obviously, cast your mind back to the Australian Open when she got through to the fourth round. We did think, oh no, she's going to win another slam. Maybe she's going to defeat everybody she meets. Rybakina put on a great performance against her. To be fair, it just takes another great performance. How often does Ostapenko go on runs like this, where she does it like 3 times in a row? I mean,
once.
Exactly.
Roland Garros 2017. Does she have like a WTA 1000 title or something? I'm not.
Sure. I don't think so. I can't think of one off the top of my head. In fact, I'm pretty sure she hasn't got one. I could be wrong. Maybe I think she got Dubai 1 year, right? But that was a 500 at the time, so it wasn't a 1000 that year. So she's kind of got the equivalent, but no, she hasn't won another big title apart from.
Yeah, she made 2 finals: Doha 2016 and Miami 2018. Right. Both winnable, really. Suarez, Navarro, and Stevens. So, ones that she could win. I think she also won on grass at 500. But yeah.
Case in point, though. She's been in these sort of situations before. It's hard for her to just keep doing it over and over again. That is the Ostapenko way. We'll see.
Yeah.
She'll have a chance, but I still fancy Gauff to get through. And that was an amazing performance against Wozniacki. Could have been a difficult matchup had Gauff been feeling nervous. In fact, there's quite a few where Gauff was probably forced to be a bit more aggressive in the matchup, and she managed to come through playing the aggressor. So I've been really, really impressed with her the whole tournament. I'm trying to think who she would be in her semis. It'd probably be Mukova, right? Or I can't remember who Mukova was against. Was it Cirstea?
Cirstea, yeah.
We can talk about both of those, actually. Mukova, in particular, probably the favourite to go through. But Cirstea playing out of nowhere. One thing I'd add to Cirstea, just before I get your thoughts, Damien, is the serve used to be quite a big problem. When she was making that run earlier in the year, where was it? It'll come back to me.
Sunshine Double, I guess.
That was it, yeah. She was getting pretty deep at, the 2 tournaments did she get? I can't remember now.
I think so.
One or the other, anyway.
Indian Wells, I think, for sure. And then
she definitely got deep at one of them, and she had always had a problem with her serve. Quite a lot of the motion.
Yeah, both of them, in fact, yeah. So the quarters at Indian Wells and semis at Miami.
There we go, yeah. And everybody was like, what's she improved and stuff. She had improved her serve, for sure. So it used to be very kind of top heavy. She didn't use much of her legs, not much rotation from the base up. And she did fix all that. The delivery's a bit better. At the end of the day, though, does a whole bunch of pace off your serve make much of a difference? Honestly, I would say Cirstea has just had that quality kind of underlying and just hadn't tapped into it for ages. It's quite hard to say. Just a bit of confidence, a few matches in a row. I'd probably say she's always had the quality to do this kind of run. Honest.
Like, that's the story of her career as well, right? Just random run, I don't know, once a year, twice a year. It's never really repeated, but it's always been like, she's just always been an underrated ball striker to me, for sure. And this is her second quarterfinal at a slam as well. And the first one was, of course, 14 years ago.
French Open 2009, right?
Yeah, 2019 French Open. So that's pretty wild. And why not? I mean, she should have a chance. When the Sunshine Double runs were around, I think everyone was praising Thomas Jonsson as well, the 2002 Australian Open winner, for his work with her. Obviously, we don't really know much of that and like how exactly he helped her, but yeah, I definitely am also on that team who just thinks that Kista always is sort of lurking out there and waiting for a potential run. And so far this year, it's been actually like it's worked out 3 times at least. So
Yeah.
so that's amazing.
The other one as well, of course, Mukova lurking again, makes another deep run at a slam. Obviously got the variety to pick apart anybody. I mean, she's such, obviously, I'm sure everybody knows by now, having watched her the past few months, but she's such a talent. Her chance of getting to the semis, again, looking very likely. I would say she's probably about the 70-30 favourite against Kirstea, quite a margin. Just so good on every single department and absolutely shouldn't be underrated. Obviously, if she did come up against Gauff again, I would say that match in the final of Cincinnati was no fluke. It is a fairly good matchup for Gauff, even if both players were a little bit off colour that day. It still feels like Gauff getting all those shots back against Mukova can be a little bit conducive to overheating. If we did see that matchup, I'd fancy Gauff in the final again. But let's not sleep on Mukova again.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends actually who are like not interested in women's tennis at all, but they like Mukova. And I think there is some merit to it, you know. They definitely just appreciate the sort of that's just the wide variety of skills that she has on the tennis court, the net approaches, you know, the slice. There is a bit of that which we don't usually see on the women's tour. And also that's what makes her so effective, right? Because players are not equipped to handle that. They are not used to that. That's, you know, that's why she pushes, I don't know, Iga Swiatek in the French Open final. Of course, also the nerves were a part of that, but that's how she is able to just give them something different. And yeah, Mukova, I think she definitely is like a slight favorite against Kirstea. Just based on how she's played so far, I don't know if I would have her, you know, with a huge chance of beating Gauff. I think it's been a little more patchy than the other top contenders.
Yeah.
But certainly just reaching these sort of rounds, right, consistently. This is something that Muhova, I guess, always has done at the slams, but only when she was healthy, obviously. And right now, she has been healthy like almost the whole year. This is already her 6th Grand Slam quarterfinal, I think, which is a pretty awesome success rate, I think, given that she probably played like about 5 times at each slam. So it would be about 20 slams played and 6 quarterfinals. That's, I would assume that there are a lot of players around her ranking which don't have that at all.
Yeah. I'm getting called out for not paying attention to the chat, so let's rip apart comments. Here's one. Iga's too safe. Also, Jack, problem with 4-love slam winner Ostapenko is she isn't safe enough. I would say for both of those, it's not really a problem for Iga in like 99% of her matches playing too safe. I'm just saying Iga is safe. I'm not saying that she is too safe. It works in pretty much every other matchup. If she does want to win that other 1% of her matches, she could do with a little bit of variety. Not being too aggressive. She's still got to be safe. She's got to come up with something that she doesn't have at the moment. And it would still be safe. I'm not knocking it. I just think it's how she plays. It works. That's how you get to number 1 and win 37 matches in a row. Ostapenko, not safe enough. It's just Ostapenko. She's never going to be safe enough. I mean, if she's going to win 7 matches in a row again, maybe she could do with cleaning up our ground strokes a little bit. I'm sure there was talk about that at the start of the year. Somebody was like, oh my God, Helena Ostapenko point construction for like an entire match. And then it kind of went away and she just like destroyed the ball again. If it's the Ostapenko way, you're not going to change a player like that. You can tell by the way she talks in press conferences and stuff. It's not a problem. It's just how she does it. Again,
she does not want to change it, neither should she. And yeah, she's won a slam, you know.
Exactly.
She might as well win another one. It's not like she's not making these runs on like a fairly regular basis. So yeah, I think that's really a style that's playing to her strengths for sure. And yeah, it's maybe a little less efficient when it comes to actually winning 7 matches in a row, winning 5 matches in a row. But from time to time, she has shown that she is able to do it.
Yeah. And waiting for Nurlan to elaborate on that one. Mukova's variety is overrated. Very interested to hear exactly what you're thinking there, Nurlan, because 100%, I think she's got some of the best variety on the tour, if not the best at the moment. Where do you want to move to now, Damien? The men's side, maybe? Have we got anything else
Sure.
to cover on the women's?
No, I don't think so. Let's talk about the men's and then, of course, about also what's to come today at the end.
Great, and odd season, I guess, for Ben Shelton, who makes a second Grand Slam quarterfinal at the US Open, of course, the Australian Open earlier in the year. So you commented on it, Damien. It was like a run of 18 tournaments at ATP level where he hadn't won 2 matches in a row, right? So a big streak. The asterisk to that, of course, Damien pointed out, is he had been a challenger. He has had.
But then, if they included that, if Bastien included that, then the narrative falls apart.
Yeah,
it's honestly, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't have anything. It's a popular tweet. I don't have anything against it, I suppose. But it just doesn't work. The narrative is not there.
Yeah.
He won consecutive matches around May. So, but anyway, of course, it's still a very strange season for Shelton. And 8-1 at the slams, and I think what was it, 10 and 21 everyone else? Obviously at the slams, at only the Australian Open and the US Open.
Yeah, did they not play Wimbledon? I thought.
I mean, just the Australian Open and the US Open.
Right.
Not the slams. Yeah. I made a mistake. Yeah. He
played
Wimbledon and he played the French Open. At Wimbledon he lost to Jerry in the second round, and at the French I cannot even remember right now. Yeah. But it was probably a first round exit, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. It probably on clay. Yeah. I think it was. I'm pretty sure. Can't remember who it was. Anyway, though, amazing result. Even beating Tommy Paul as well. Obviously, Paul playing very well. A lot of people's, I think, semi pick, even at least quarters pick. Of course, you can go watch the review that me and Damien did at the start of the fortnight, just picking out our dark horses. Shelton, of course.
It actually worked out pretty fine, right?
It did. Yeah, we had Goyo, we had Shelton, we had Mensik, kind of. Stricker, yeah.
Yeah, but like our goal was to pick out second week players. And I think at the end I said that we are going to be satisfied if we get at least one. And we actually got 3. So I think we did extremely well, yeah. And also was there someone that we missed? Hijikata, I guess, right? But that was not possible, really. Was there anyone else of the unseeded players that we?
Nobody that got
Arnaldi?
We didn't pick Arnaldi. We might have mentioned him, but he wasn't one of our
No, I don't think we did. Draper as well. We did not mention him either.
No, we didn't.
Hijikata. So I guess we got 3 out of 6 if we look at it this way, which is fine, I suppose. Yeah, I think this was a good result for us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely was. I think the underlying point there is, as you say, he had the level to win consecutive matches, even if it wasn't happening, and people were kind of sleeping on him a bit. The serve obviously speaks for itself. Yeah, 2 149-mile-an-hour serves in the one game. Obviously, all the other serves in that game going unreturned as well, by the way. He's got a very good chance against Tiafoe, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'm finding it hard to call that one. Tiafoe's level was really good against Hijikata, but that's a good 4th round, obviously. It was more indicative in the Manarino match where he still managed to come through despite the fact Manarino's level was sneaky high, as always. Who have you got going through there, out of interest, Damien? Shelton or Tiafoe?
I can't remember because before the event I surely had a Tiafoe Paul quarter, and I can't remember who I had to win this even. I might check. So if I had Tiafoe to make the semis, then I kind of had to stick with it. But I am with you with that I'm not really sure anymore. Shelton has just been good enough that I'm not really sure he's gonna lose to Tiafoe. And Frances, I guess, hasn't been tested all that much other than the 4th set against Manarino where he delivered. Obviously, he loves this stage, Arthur Ashe, 7 semifinals last year. But Ben Shelton loves the big stage too, and like they have very similar energy. Surely it's going to be a very exciting match for the crowds too. And yeah, Paul Shelton, I thought that this was going to be a much tougher matchup for Shelton than it actually was. In Australia, it seemed like so. But then maybe the fact that it's like a little heavier, slower here, maybe it just gives Shelton more time to set up for his huge strokes. Also, the fact that Paul cannot maybe go inside the baseline, like just overwhelm him with the timing a little bit. Just doesn't give him doesn't take time away in such conditions from him as well as he could in Australia. Paul also wasn't handling the hit all that well. And yeah, just a wonderful story for Shelton, and this takes so much pressure off him at the Australian Open, because I remember saying around Wimbledon, I think, that like even a Wimbledon exit is fine. I didn't think it was going to be to Jere, but still, even a Wimbledon exit is fine if he does something in Atlanta, Cincinnati. Like if he doesn't do anything there, the fastest hard courts, outdoor hard courts, like some of the fastest, let's say, outdoor hard courts that we have on the tour in the States, if he doesn't do anything there, then he's in trouble. He kind of was. That's also because of poor draws. I mean, getting Tsitsipas and Alcaraz very early in Toronto and Cincinnati. But of course, the US Open helps out so much. And now, even if he loses, I don't know, round one in Australia, he's not out of the top 100, right? So yeah, that's massive for Shelton, I think, and lovely to see, because yeah, as you said, I think he was sort of playing pretty well most of the season, but sort of just getting like new experiences on clay, grass, especially clay, of course. And around that time, probably along the way, he kind of lost some confidence, because yeah, he was losing quite a lot.
Yeah. I find it quite interesting from Terry there saying we need Tiafoe to go through his Bemo claps in front of Djokovic. I actually think the better servers got a better chance, to be honest, despite the fact neither of them probably are considered that close to beating him. I still think Shelton, with his kind of more consistent holds, historically, Djokovic has had quite a few losses to big servers. Of course, the most famous one being Damien's favourite player beating him to love, Ivo Karlovic.
Yeah,
2-1,
3-1 head to head.
3-1,
3-1 head to
3-1.
head.
There you go.
One match is rarely remembered because it's like ATP Madrid 1000 qualies or something back in the day. But two of them, of course, are like very often mentioned. And Doha, the only loss that Djokovic had before the finals that year in 2015.
So it was,
Yeah, and I actually agree with you, and this is why I said yesterday that I think Goyo actually has a shot to beat Djokovic, like on par with Fritz to me.
On par with Fritz, yeah, fair.
Does not really bode well for Fritz's chances, and maybe I'm just underrating him based on their history of their matchup, and for what it's worth, Taylor has been playing really well, but that's basically why I assumed that Goyo has a decent shot. And also I thought that Goyo has a much better chance of winning yesterday than Stricker or Hijikata. Stricker usually would be up there, but the fitness and like back-to-back 5-setters and etc. And Taylor not really playing at all. But yeah, that's precisely why I thought Goyo has some sort of a chance.
Yeah. I actually, again, that one was on a little late. Did you get to see any of it, Damien? Did you get to see the Goyo Novak one?
Yeah, we did commentary on it with John as well. We did the whole night session together, and Goyo, the past few rounds he was, and generally the whole year, he's just been impressive with how steady he has become off the ground. But against Djokovic, he felt like he needed to do more. He felt like he needed to hammer every forehand. 90% of them were not accurate. There were some outrageous winners, like absolutely, but this is the sort of tennis you play against a top guy. You just come out and blast the ball and see what happens. And you hit like 5 ridiculous shots in the process, but then you also make 50 unforced errors. I actually think Goya would have had a better shot if he tried to play it maybe just more casually. But okay, like that's the choice he made, and I understand it because he was playing the GOAT, and also so many serves were coming back too, and that's a tough one for a player like this.
Yeah, of course. I do. Just one other comment on the Shelton serve compared to the others.
Yeah.
So I do think it makes quite a big difference when you've got a kind of lefty swinger coming in. Sometimes just gives you bigger targets if you can, give them the threat of just making a bigger angle in the ad court, particularly, when you've got break points to save on that side. It can be quite a big asset. If it gets tight, and obviously there's going to be loads and loads of tight moments that Shelton would have to come through, I still kind of see it being 4 tight sets, to be honest. Again, conditioning will come into play quite a lot. And it's kind of the same for Fritz too. Was it Cincinnati that you got beaten 6-love, 6-4? I think it was.
Yep.
Pretty much every time it went to a rally, again, Fritz feeling like he had to do a bit more, and all that amazing rally temperament we'd seen from him in other matchups kind of goes out the window when he's confronted with him. But again, Shelton he's serving bombs. He's serving like better than anybody else on the tour at the moment. So there's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance. Most likely, though, we'll probably see him in the final, Novak. Have we got any other matches to talk about before we move on, Damien? I think we've covered all the ones that were played, right?
Yeah, Tiafoe Hijikata is not really something that we should be talking about, I think. And yeah, Striker, as I just said, I think he would have had a great shot at Fritz, but not after so much tennis played in the first week or so. 4 sets against Popyrin, 5 sets against Bonzi, 5 sets against Tsitsipas, and also even the qualifying, the match against Yamas Ruiz was really taxing. So 2 match points saved, by the way, which is a nice twist to his run too. And yeah, hopefully he just continues that in the indoor season, especially. Last year he made round 2 in Basel, round 2 in Antwerp, so there's a bit of points to defend, but these are absolutely events that he should be winning matches in again if he gets a nice draw.
Once he gets a little foot on the ATP top 100, you imagine, or the tour even, you imagine he'll probably keep it, right?
That's what I'm hoping for, yeah.
I found
hopefully
I was going to say one comment I wanted to talk about with you, and wondered if you kind of felt the same thing, because you've watched so many Challenger matches, obviously. And Jessica Pegula talks about the Challenger Tour on the women's side, which is obviously your WTA
doesn't exist,
100s, whatever event it would be. But our point is, she felt like it was harder. Obviously, you've heard this one before. It's easier to get into the top 100 than stay there. But she felt like just the matches themselves in isolation were sometimes harder to win than some of the ones you'd play on the WTA Tour. Her reasoning being pretty much every match you play, there are kind of crazy conditions with maybe umpires, line calls, the technology is not set up as well. But also the player on the other side of the net wants to win so bad, so they want to get out of this rung of just playing these lower level tournaments, that they actually tend to give a lot more effort in those matches than sometimes in the WTA, where you can get somebody who's just been on a really good run and they kind of feel a bit deflated the next tournament. Examples like that. She just felt like it was way more scrappy though at the lower levels, and I kind of get what she's saying.
A lot of players say that. Like, generally speaking, when you talk to players, challenger mainstays, let's say, there are 2 very common things that they bring up, like, regardless of the question. One is the fact that the ranking doesn't really matter. 100, 400, it's just a matter of consistency. And the other is that it's just such a battle, such a hard-fought life on the Challenger Tour. And I even chatted about it with Iji Vesely actually a couple of weeks ago, when he said that, I asked him, I tried to phrase it pretty well, which I don't know if I will now, because in some other ways it can sound like a disrespectful thing, but I actually phrased it, I think, okay. And it was a question of whether, how are you beating Korda, almost beating Tsitsipas, and then sort of, on a weekly basis, it's not working out for you here in Challenger qualifying. He qualified for that event in Kozerki and reached the second round, actually, but that was after he qualified. And that was basically his answer. That everyone is so hungry to just get to the top 100, to get to the biggest stages, that he's really struggling to just even put wins together in Challenger qualifying. That week he actually did. He missed 2 match points eventually in the second round, and he actually made me believe that at the US Open he's going to play well, which I think he did, definitely. So there is some improvement, but even though he's, I don't know, coming so close to beating Tsitsipas, it's actually not easy at all for him to just go to a challenger somewhere, which I think for a lot of fans that have never seen challenger matches, challenger events, who don't really know what it is, that would be a shock, right? They would assume that if Vesely is going toe-to-toe with Tsitsipas, and then a month later on a different surface as well, he beats Korda, that means that in the meantime he probably won two or three challengers. That's not been the case. His win rate for the year is probably still below 50%, or around that mark.
Yeah. It's fascinating, and again, people just underrate it and don't really realize the tennis they're watching all of the time is pretty much exactly the same as you would see at the ATP level, at challenger level. It's the same game, but about a 20th of the price for entry. Sometimes it's free, for goodness sakes. So if you're ever thinking of watching live tennis, go find out where your local ITF tournament is and go watch. It's fascinating and incredibly fun to watch. Do we want to do a quick kind of preview of some of the matches coming up today?
Yeah.
Maybe, Damien? Some of our thoughts?
Yeah, sure.
We've got... there we go. Flashed up on the screen. Starting with Keys Pegula. I've got Pegula winning the tournament, Damien. And Keys Svitolina in the third, Keys in the fourth. It's quite a rough set of matches,
Yeah.
I've got to say.
Yeah, it is possible, and it's going to be a pretty monumental feat for Pegula, I think, to win this now. Can you remind me very quickly who she's playing in the? Oh, Vondrousova as well. So Vondrousova potentially in the quarters. You know, the player that eliminated her out of Wimbledon, and also gave her like the toughest quarterfinal defeat as of yet.
Yeah.
When it comes to her slam results.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Pegula and Gauff are sort of in a similar spot for me right now, where even when when the opponent is sort of making them work, they have been able to produce, and that's mostly, I think, the confidence gathered from the warm-up swing. And yeah, she has been doing that as well. I kind of trust her to keep going, and I think she's ready to progress to the semis. I never really thought, maybe outside of that Vondrousova match, that was like a mental barrier.
Yeah.
At least not yet, just because, well, she was simply playing better opponents who had played her on the day. Against Vondrousova, you can kind of have go two ways, I think, because, well, for one thing, Vondrousova played in like an insane run of 5 games. At the same time, you led 4-1 in the quarters, so of course there was some mental pressure involved as well.
Yeah.
But I think she definitely looks ready. Loved the third set against Svitolina. That sort of like primary weapon that she has been missing in her career is there. The forehand like was just piercing through the court beautifully, really giving Svitolina a lot of trouble with how flat it is. The serving as well, I think, has been quite excellent. So yeah, she's giving me a lot of confidence that she is ready for it. Keys, Svitolina, not easy. Yeah, I agree.
The Svitolina match was very confidence inspiring for me. I did think that was a very tough third round, and she's kind of probably in a better spot for it, having come through, because she had to play very well, of course, to get through that match. Little asterisk, of course, to the Vondrousova match as well. You were just saying there, Damien, she did obviously have that break in the third set where they had to go off court, and that's not that easy to bounce back from. You know, a lot of the momentum can get stolen there. There is a pretty high chance, I think, that she would have went on to win the match had the match not been postponed, basically. So again, I agree with you. I don't think there is a quarterfinal problem. The Vondrousova matchup's always going to be pretty tough. Vondrousova makes anybody have to hit bigger, probably, to beat her, because she's so consistent from that left-hand side. It'll be interesting. I still back her. The Keys match will be tough. Maybe if Keys is a little off, then Pegula gets an easy ride, but most likely it's going to be a pretty tough one. Maybe talk about a few of the men's as well, Damien. We've got Alcaraz Arnaldi. Probably no chance there, especially after that Alcaraz Evans amazing third round.
Was it really? Like,
I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
It was fine. Definitely, watchable in terms of like entertainment, aesthetical pleasure. But was it? I was just surprised with the emphasis that you put on. That it was so good.
The levels, maybe, to be fair. So I'm watching it through Sky Sports, and there was British commentators on there, and they were big. They were hyping up Evans, but I, of my own accord, would have said Evans was playing amazingly. I thought the level was incredibly high for the third and fourth at least, and Alcaraz had to raise his level for probably the first time in the tournament. And the level he raised it to at times, the passes, some of the athleticism, it was a joy.
The shot making was insane, obviously, and they both enjoyed it a lot. Even each other's shots, which is cool. I think Arnaldi. I'm hoping for it to be a similar match in terms of just both guys sort of enjoying being out there. Arnaldi playing kind of fearlessly, great counter punching, then actually painting lines when he gets to attack. And if that happens, it should be very watchable too. But yeah, the outcome, the end results. Yeah. I don't think it can really be any other way than Alcaraz winning.
I've got to join just 1 second. I rarely do this, Jack, but I have to remind Damien of something he said during that match, because Jack is relevant to this. Damien, do you remember when we were talking about the person getting kicked out the box and what you suggested? Remember Dan Evans said, "What the hell is this dude doing in my box? What's he doing with my team?" And you highlighted Jack and I with
that wasn't me. That was in the comments.
Was it? Oh, it's in the comments. I thought it was you.
Or no, maybe it wasn't from the comments. Maybe it was Nick who said it. It wasn't me for sure. No.
It was still funny anyway. But I'm going to leave.
Maybe it was Nick. Maybe it was Nick. Yeah, but it was good. Yeah, that Liam Brody could have done the same. I think it was Nick. I'm not sure. It was either a comment or Nick. It would make more sense if it was Nick, right? Because well, why would a commenter like instantly think of that? No.
Well, we were front and center in Liam Brody's box day when everybody was watching.
Friend of the show, right? Friend of the show.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It was definitely drawing similarities there. Anyway, obviously Alcaraz, I don't think we learned anything new there. Obviously, it was just a great match. Arnaldo will have holes in his game that Alcaraz will quite easily exploit. I think not a whole lot to talk about there, to be honest. Although, obviously, some of the forehands on display are going to be absolutely phenomenal. De Minaur Medvedev, however, I had Medvedev losing to De Minaur at the start of the tournament. Do I still feel like that? You know, Medvedev at the US Open is genuinely a bit of a different beast. He does tend to raise his level. It's probably about 50-50 for me. I honestly think, I suppose it's a bit faster when the courts are a little slower. I think that tends to make De Minaur a bit closer to Medvedev. You know, he can make all the rallies quite scrappy and actually match him for rally temperament. I guess it's a little faster. Medvedev just gets enough free service points. So I suppose I'll probably back Medvedev now, maybe 60-40.
I'm assuming that because it's like a best of 5 match, longer format, maybe that's how Medvedev gets some edge there.
That's true as well.
That's basically my assumption, but it has been a tricky opponent for De Minaur has been a tricky opponent for Medvedev. Obviously, there used to be a 4-0 head-to-head lead, which gives hope to Iga Świątek, and then De Minaur won the last 2 matches. But yeah, I'm just sort of assuming that maybe the bigger stage, longer match. I'm sort of hoping that Medvedev will just figure it out somehow. I say hoping because I just feel like he's a better addition to the rest of the event than De Minaur would be. That's why I say hoping.
I agree. I'd prefer to see him in the semis at least. It would be Draper Rublev, right, in his quarter. So the semi-final opponent for Alcaraz or Sinner. Certainly Sinner, because Alcaraz has had such a positive head-to-head against Medvedev. Would be interesting. Draper Rublev, though. Fancy the upset, Damien?
It could be an upset. Personally, I thought that Rublev was probably going to lose, maybe even earlier. But eventually his draw kind of fell apart. Instead of Rusev, you get Cazaux. You do get Monfils, but instead of Berrettini, you get who? Rinderknecht. So instead of Hurkacz, I guess you get Draper, although a healthy Draper, that's maybe comparable. I think he has a good shot at the upset. I just sort of wonder if it goes like 4 long sets, 5 sets, is Jack going to hold up? Against Mo, he did not. And Rublev, generally speaking, is one of the most physically durable players on tour, I think. So,
good point.
He basically plays every week. He never really struggles with his conditioning whatsoever. I don't know how long he's going to be able to do it. Maybe later in his career, he's going to limit his scheduling. But yeah, he never really struggles with it. So I think 4 long sets, I would back Rublev to win like that. But Draper has the talent to be winning matches like this.
Absolutely. Very good point as well about Rublev's conditioning, which is a slight underrated part of his game. How about Zverev Sinner? You got a winner there?
I'm very excited for that. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely going to stay up to watch it again. So another 6 a.m. finish for me. But I'm not really sure Sinner is that much of a favorite. I just feel like this is, there are some similarities to the Medvedev matchup, where the lack of variety of Sinner sort of starts hurting him at some point, just because Zverev is such a good counter puncher. Also has a big serve, of course. Should be getting some free points. I think Zverev's level right now is like adjacent to maybe, if not his peak, then maybe the level that he was basically constantly showing, let's say in like 2019-18. I think it's adjacent to that. Obviously, it could very well turn out to be different if Sinner just comes out and like exposes him completely. I just don't think that will happen. I think it's a good enough matchup for Zverev that will give him a fighting chance. Whether he will actually win,
I'd love to see Sinner just playing back-to-back lights out matches. I do feel like sometimes he can come out a little, not flat, but just maybe in the bigger moments just doesn't quite step up. I would like to see the Alcaraz-Sinner rematch from last year. I think
Alcaraz-Zverev is also an interesting matchup, right?
Yeah,
but yeah, Alcaraz-Sinner 5 hours last year. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to see the revenge chance, and does Sinner manage it this time, because it's such a good matchup. Obviously, probably, in fact, definitely for me, the match of last year. I just thought the level was insane. So I'd like to see it again, definitely. A few other ones, maybe just one more. In fact, is it Oh no, we've got two more. Sorry, Kasatkina, Sabalenka.
Three more
Sorry,
women's. Yeah, 3 more women's.
Starting with Kasatkina, Sabalenka. Obviously, in fact, I'll just go ahead and say it. I do think Sabalenka is probably the big favourite here. I think Kasatkina, despite the fact she's come through some pretty tough matches against Kenin, being the biggest one probably, her serve is obviously incredibly attackable, and Sabalenka's return frequently underrated. It's huge, and Kasatkina has been there for the taking. I just don't think anybody's sustained their level long enough to beat her. So
yeah, I sort of feel a similar way. There is a universe where like she just comes in, plays like this super smart defensive tennis, and Sabalenka sort of just can't find her rhythm. It gets to be like a long grind fest. And maybe it actually is possible for her to win, but there's also like the very likely outcome that the huge power difference is just going to be too much. And it has been a reasonably decent matchup, I guess, for Kasatkina in the past, which is somewhat surprising. But I think the most recent match was actually last month, right? And Sabalenka won that one fairly easily.
Can't remember.
Cincinnati or Montreal. I think Cincinnati, and it was like 6-3, 6-3 Sabalenka.
Yeah. Well, I'm expecting that again, but obviously, you're right. Maybe about 80-20 for me. How about Jabeur Zheng? Who's getting through that one?
Is this the breakthrough moment? It might be. It might be. Jabeur has been vulnerable. You said that Kasatkina was there for the taking and no one did it. Jabeur was even more there for the taking, against Osorio, against Buskova, and against someone in the second round where it was also really tight.
Yeah, it was Noskova.
Oh, Noskova. Yes. I even watched that on the stream, I think. And I just feel like she has been really there for the taking. She has been also struggling with like some residues of that viral infection that she had. I don't know if by this point it's cleared up, but it can really wreck up your conditioning. Jabeur probably another player that generally is that physically durable either.
Yeah.
And Zheng, she had a cakewalk to get here, 100%. She almost made a mess of it. I mean, she made a mess of it. She almost lost. She dropped a set to... Well, I used this joke yesterday already, but I'm going to say it again, that she dropped a set to 47-year-old Kaya Kanepi. And then she also had that match against Bronzetti, of course, 2-4 down. Even game point, I think, for Bronzetti. Had to rely on some like Hail Mary defense to get her back into the match. And Bronzetti missing a very easy drive volley. Matches like this don't fuel me with confidence that Kirvan is gonna about to figure it out, about to put her game together. But I cannot stop hoping for it. She has the talent, she has the potential. I would love to see her in the quarterfinals, because that would finally be that breakthrough moment that we are waiting for, and with a nice win as well, because the first 3 rounds, I mean, clearly one of the easiest draws so far, but then I wouldn't really give her a good shot against Sabalenka. So I think this is probably the last moment when she can really step it up.
I actually, despite the fact Jabeur has been there for the taking, I actually do think Jabeur will win this one. Zheng, I'm exactly the same place as you. I want her to break through, Damien. I want her to do the next big thing. But I do think the serve tends to go walkabouts a little too often. Jabeur is the ultimate disruptor, so any holes left in Zheng's game / confidence could be found out. I don't think this is quite her moment. There's a few things she'll have to polish up before she does. But I'd like to see it happen.
When will it happen?
When will it happen? Exactly.
Yeah. She lost to Siniakova at Wimbledon, right? And to Pera at the Australian Open. And was the French pretty decent? I guess maybe the French was at least pretty decent. I can't remember. Definitely wasn't. This is her second round of 16 at the Slam for sure.
Yeah. And then we'll tie up with Stearns Vondrousova. Does Stearns have the game? I think so, but obviously Vondrousova is definitely the favourite. I'm sticking with that. But Stearns on a very good day. She is kind of one of those just ball bashers. She's got a good chance.
Yeah, that's a photo of Peyton Stearns that I don't think she would be proud of. But yeah, I totally agree. Like, I just feel like Stearns has, her level fluctuates widely. She plays a phenomenal match like against Ostapenko at the French, and then she loses to Kasatkina, taking one game. It also happened to her against Kasatkina again recently. And yeah, I just feel like Vondrousova probably controls the play a bit better than just well enough with that lefty spin to win this. Do I think it's quite as lopsided as like the odds makers say? Probably not. But Vondrousova is surely one of the more heavy favorites today.
Yeah, I'm casting my mind back to Stearns. It was not the same matchup, obviously, but did she get beaten by Kasatkina quite heavily in the French Open? I think it was like
6-love, 6-1, yeah.
6-love, 6-1. I caught quite a lot of that, actually. And obviously the courts are slower there, to be fair. But yeah, she's young. She's prone to kind of overheating. Maybe she's still
not that young, right? I mean, she's what, 24, 23.
Oh, okay. I thought she was younger than that, Damien.
I mean, that's because she was in college, right?
Yeah. So,
21 actually. Okay, so maybe I gave her like 2 more years, I guess.
Yeah,
21.
So she's still quite young, but yeah, most likely Vondrousova.
Oh, because she only played 2 seasons in college. I thought it was 3. That's why.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think we've went with any of the big upsets. In fact, we've pretty much picked all the favourites to go through, Damien. So nothing crazy exciting. Maybe apart from there was one, was there not? Maybe I'm wrong. Draper? Did we call Draper to get through? We just said maybe.
I didn't. I think I said that
we said
Gauff was going to win in like a physical match. Yeah.
De Minor's probably got the best chance, and even then, Medvedev at the US. Yeah. Sinner's Zverev's the one to watch, really. I would say that's probably
100%.
The closest one.
And Jabeur as well. I think that has like a bit of a guarantee for me that it will be at least interesting. I don't know what will happen at all, but it will be at least interesting. And Keith Pegula has like a high promise as well.
Yes,
but Sinner's Zverev is the match today, and then I'm surely staying up for it.
Cool, amazing, Damien. I think we'll wrap up there, right?
Yeah.
Anything? I don't think there's anything else to cover. No other
chatted
matches?
About it all.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So.
In that case, thanks very much, Damien, for joining me on the first serve. Thanks very much, audience chat. You've done us proud as always. We'll catch you very soon on Talking Tennis. Cheers, guys.
We have the like from John's father, so we can.
Oh yeah, saw that. Yeah, so now we can go.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.